Sign up for WynnBET Sportsbook at WYNNBet.com today using promo code BlueWire to get up to $1,000 toward a risk-free sports bet. Offer subject to change. Terms and conditions at WynnBET.com. Must be 21 or older and present in the state where playthrough WynnBET is available. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700.
Hello and welcome to the Airbuds Podcast. It's a podcast that's still happening. My name's Jamel.
My name's Peter.
My name is Mike. Happy basketball, guys. How's it going?
Oh, man, so much news in the basketball world since we last talked, Mike, when we took our basketball show and rated America's best sandwiches. We're just pumped with basketball news here.
You know what, Peter? I'm not even playing that game with you, dude.
Well,
the last playoff spot has come down to the last day of the season, and you're gonna grin at me through your computer TV screen and act like there's no basketball news.
We will get to NBA the WNBA
news.
right
There's
now.
no NBA news. Let me be very clear.
Correct.
W absolutely in its own stratosphere of news and entertainment for sure. But I think if you're coming here for gentlemen's basketball, like, what are you doing, man? Go on vacation. Take a walk. Turn on Sunday Ticket.
Peter, we want listeners.
Read a book.
We want
Am
people
I right?
to like this show. We have a guest. You can chime in whenever you want. We will introduce you, but yeah.
Read a book.
But Peter mentioned that we ranked the America's Best Sandwiches, and that's what we did on our Patreon.
Okay.
If you go to patreon.com/AirbudsPod and subscribe, you can hear we did the NBA Sandwich Playoffs, which we took every city from the from this year's playoffs, and we seeded them and we pitted them against each other. And you got to listen if you want to hear what the winner is.
I that's fascinating because I have very strong sandwich opinions. My dad is kind of turned me on to the New York deli scene. So yeah, I have very, very ardent opinions about sandwiches. If I weren't here to talk about my book, I could probably spend an hour and a half defending the turkey Reuben or the Rachel, which I think is my favorite sandwich. So,
I don't know what the Rachel is. What is the Rachel?
You know how you get a Reuben, which is I think corned beef, sauerkraut,
Thousand Island,
Russian dressing. Yeah. The Rachel is with turkey, coleslaw, I think Munster cheese or Swiss and Russian dressing, and it's far superior to the Reuben, in my opinion.
Sounds a little healthier also with the turkey.
Yeah, exactly. See, I don't know if you can tell from me sitting behind my desk, but I'm in tip-top shape. So so yeah, I only want I'm always looking for a dietary diet shortcut. So yeah.
Your abs look great.
Thank you. Thank you.
I thought it was just going to be a Reuben with like a Jennifer Aniston wig on it.
That's it. It's with like the haircut.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I have my hair is long enough where I could get the Rachel if I wanted to, but I won't. So.
Well, if you listeners want to hear our sandwich rankings, go to patreon.com/AirbudsPod, subscribe. Also, if you can't help us out with that, you can help us out another way, which is going to Apple Podcasts and giving us a 5-star review. Helps us climb the charts, get new listeners, blah, blah, blah. And with that, we are done with business, right? Any other plugs we were supposed to do?
Yeah, I've got a timeshare to sell. I'm gonna need 30 minutes though. We'll do it later.
Okay, yeah. We'll put it we'll tack it at the end of the episode.
Thanks.
Guys, you've heard him already. He told us all about the Rachel. We got a guest today. He's a writer whose work you may have seen in Sports Illustrated, the New York Times, heard of it, Vice, many others. He recently published a book about the NBA's journey to media dominance called From Hang Time to Prime Time. That's available where all fine books are sold. Please welcome to the show, Pete Croatto.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Pleasure to be on here.
Pleasure to have you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. My pleasure. My pleasure.
Pete, what's your team? You said you're in Ithaca, New York. You're wearing a Canadian baseball hat.
Yes.
Where do your allegiances lie?
My allegiances lie. You know, I'm kind of an NBA like polyglot. Like I kind of like just like where the best game is. Like if you know, I'm really. I'm going to sound like the the basketball version of that Rob Lowe meme and the NFL hat. But honestly, like
that hat gets talked about a shocking amount on this
it
podcast.
does, doesn't it?
Yeah, it comes up often between us. Yeah.
Yeah. But honestly, if there's a game on, I'll watch it. I'm that, because to me, it's like the best athletes in the world and just going at it. But I'm kind of partial to the 76ers because my last dalliance with being an NBA, with being an NBA, with being
I'm
an
wearing
NBA
a Sixers
fan.
shirt right now. For the listener, I stood up and started pointing at my chest. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw it. I don't know why you had to qualify it.
And then he started
telling-
rubbing his nipples
was
a little
telling the
bit.
listener,
So
yeah.
I was going to leave that out, but you did touch your nipples.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I have large
It's-
nipples, so if I'm pointing at my chest, I'm likely pointing at my nipples. Yeah.
I'm still here and I'm not blanching. When the last time I was sort of, last time I really followed an NBA team was the 76ers when I lived outside of Philadelphia. And I don't know, I just kind of got swept into the process for better or for worse. And I just kind of, I got in on that team on the ground floor, and I sort of been following them, a little bit at a time. And I love Joel Embiid. I think he's probably my favorite player. But it's funny, I kind of got into the Sixers because A, it was the basketball that was on my cable system, and B, I thought the Sixers broadcast team was great. The local broadcast team was really good.
Mark Zumoff is a legend. Retired this year, sadly, but yeah.
So it was Zumoff.
Yeah.
It was Zumoff, Malik Rose, and Molly Sullivan, and I thought they were just they were a great broadcast team. So that's kind of what made me stick around.
Molly Sullivan was great, and she eventually got replaced, correct?
Yeah, she got
Do you
replaced.
have any insight into why she was replaced?
That is a really good question. I don't know, because I loved Molly Sullivan.
Yeah,
and I
fantastic
thought
reporter.
she was great because she always would. This is something that you don't see enough with TV reporters. I don't know if you guys have noticed this on whatever broadcast, but so few TV people ask too many of them, I should say, ask questions that can be answered with yes or no. Mm-hmm. Like it's almost a disorder. But Molly Sullivan never asked that kind of question. It was always a question that a person, no matter who it was, had to explain. And I thought, man, this is someone who gets it. So yeah, she was great. I don't know. I think she was let go because it was a cost-cutting measure. And yeah, now she's, from last time I heard of her because we're Facebook friends, oddly enough. She's in Vegas, and she's, I think, working in communications for some sort of county department, which is a shame because she's great. Yeah. She's great.
I can't recall who the woman that replaced her is, but she's also good. But I guess was just cheaper.
Okay.
Cheaper at the time, I suppose, because Molly was just more of a veteran.
Yeah. I don't know. I also don't know what the dynamic was between Zumoff, Malik Rose, and Molly Sullivan. That could have been something. I don't know. But it was. I remember she talked about she talked about being let go with Richard Deitch, who's now at the Athletic. He had a podcast, and she didn't really allude to there being any disagreements. It was just sort of a blow. Like she just was called in the office one day and was just replaced. And I was stunned because I thought like, this is somebody who could do. I thought she was great, and she had done national work, and I don't know. It's a crazy business.
Now, you said that you were in on the process team from like the ground floor just by habits of watching. At what point did you believe with all your heart that Tony Roten was going to be a Hall of Fame player?
My money was on Spencer Hawes. I thought Spencer Hawes was going to be the next Wes Unseld, and I lost.
Turns out he became the next Richard Spencer.
Now,
yeah.
Yes.
Now I will speak now. I was going to let you guys get your shit off, but come on, bros. Come on.
I love big men who average 5 rebounds a game. That's my weakness. It's
hard to rebound.
It is.
Actually.
It is hard to rebound. I don't know. You know what's funny with that team? This is going to sound really racist. Old man.
No, I'm just kidding. Sorry.
Old man in his armchair. But I love that the team I love the way the team played under Brett Brown. They were hardworking. They never They never seemed to let off the gas at any point. And it was just a fun team to watch because I always felt they were in a game, even when they were just completely getting blown out. And part of it too is just, it's also nice to be on something on the ground floor. I don't know. It's maybe it's why I'm a Mets fan, because like you're in on the ground floor and there's
no matter what year.
Exactly.
To say you're never left the ground floor since 1986.
Exactly. It's been every year. It's like the first day of school. Just you're just gonna get your ass kicked and you're gonna wonder what the hell's going on. Yeah, but yeah, there were a lot of players. Oh man, Ish Smith and Tony Roten and Jason Richardson. It's just like a rogues gallery of players on those teams, and that was part of the fun of it. But yeah, I still have a soft spot for the 76ers. Though I wouldn't say I'm like a process believer or a process, like advocate. I'm just somebody who just liked watching the team play.
I believe that we never, and this I'm saying this is someone who like was kind of neither heavily critical nor heavily in favor of the process, but like I believe that we never really got to see the end of the process because of
I agree.
Sam Hinkie's ousting. And then a Colangelo coming in and just like blowing up everything he tried to do. Yeah. So like we don't know if the process would have worked.
It might have ended the world.
That could have also been a possibility, and I'm open to it.
I don't want to know what the original process was supposed to be.
I don't know. It's funny. I read Yaron Weissman's book about that, which is great. And I'm kind of glad the process didn't reach fruition. I think you're right. I think it would have been like we would have entered into chaos and the world would have folded into itself and we'd be thrown into some sort of weird Matrix kind of
I just finished Loki, bro. Don't talk to me about what the process is supposed to be.
How is Loki? I haven't seen it yet.
If you want to be mad as hell, if you want to watch something, you're like, all right, if you want to have a somewhat good time that will end with you being upset, Loki's for you.
Oh, thank you. That's a ringing endorsement.
It's great just to hear like Owen Wilson like talk in his like laid back Texan accent about like, wow, Loki, you folded in time and space on itself. Like he's just kind of like, he doesn't belong there, and yet he does. He's perfect.
Loki? You're a variant. Wow.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you,
Wow.
what's the wow figure or number with Owen Wilson in that series?
It's pretty high.
I think
it's high in the pilot.
You get
but
yeah. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a good.
Wow,
Yeah.
You're a smart guy, Loki. Wow.
Hard to believe he was in Wes Anderson's early days. Like that continues to blow my mind. That like they did Bottle Rocket.
He co-wrote Bottle Rocket.
Yeah, he co-wrote and also I think he co-wrote Rushmore, didn't he?
I think so. Yeah, and Royal Tenenbaums as well.
Yeah. So and then it's so funny how like Wes Anderson still makes these indie darling films, and now Owen Wilson is part of the Marvel TV and cinematic universe. It's crazy. It's wow. It's crazy.
Well, Pete, I'm looking over your shoulder. I'm seeing your book expertly placed right there on your shelf. Tell us a little bit about From Hang Time to Prime Time.
Yeah, basically the book covers the years 1975 to 1989. And it looks at how the NBA became a business and cultural behemoth. So it really kind of looks at it looks at some of the players like Larry and Magic and Michael and Dr. J. But it looks at more how the NBA from the business aspect of it, from the David Stern, Larry O'Brien, Rick Welts, part of it. So yeah, it kind of looks at how David Stern sort of took things over and turned the NBA into a business, or had to think in a business mindset, and also looks at how sort of TV and cable kind of came together, to become sophisticated and in covering the athletes, and yeah, kind of looks at how the NBA really kind of mastered marketing and promotion to kind of build the NBA into what we see today, this really star-driven, entertainment-driven league. So yeah, it's a book I think is really good, not only for current fans, but also for old school fans, but also for fans that are new to the game and maybe are wondering, how we got here. You know, the NBA wasn't always this big glittering behemoth. It was, you know, for a lot of years a struggle. And the book looks at those years of struggle, looks at how it became sort of this legitimate enterprise and how it reached this, you know, this stratospheric heights in terms of being this, you know, worldwide entertainment property. So yeah, it's I think it's a great book, and you know, I love writing it, and hope you all enjoy reading it.
No spoilers, but how did it happen?
How did it happen? That's a good question. I mean, I think it happened over a long time. But the first step in my opinion, was that the NBA decided to hire Larry O'Brien as the NBA commissioner in 1975. Now, Larry O'Brien, for those who don't know, before he became the NBA commissioner and had the finals, the championship trophy named after him, Larry O'Brien was a big deal in Democratic politics. He was a member of LBJ's cabinet. He was part of JFK's inner circle. You know, he was, you know, he basically helped JFK become president for better or for worse. So Larry O'Brien by the early 1970s was sort of, you know, he'd become long in the tooth. He, you know, the politics were sort of now about revolution and youngsters. And Larry O'Brien was this guy in his 40s, early 50s who really was, you know, maybe had seen better days. So the NBA was looking for somebody to take over for J. Walter Kennedy, who was the former commissioner who was leaving, and had really become
any relation to the other Kennedy already mentioned?
No,
okay, got it.
No, not related to the Kennedy clan of New England. Mm-hmm. So, pardon me. So, yeah, so J. Walter Kennedy asked Larry O'Brien if he wanted the commissioner role, and after a lot of bargaining, a lot of pleading from the owners, from the commissioner himself, Larry O'Brien gets named commissioner in 1975, and that starts the process, the process that we see today, for two reasons. First, Larry O'Brien was a major league celebrity. I mean, many people don't know who he is, but at the time, he was, as Pat Williams, the GM of the 76ers, told me, Larry O'Brien was a big deal. And the NBA needed somebody who was going to make the casual sports fan sit up and take notice. Like, oh, wow, the NBA got Larry O'Brien to be their commissioner. Holy cow. Like, that's the good news that the NBA needed, because the NBA at that time was struggling.
Let me ask,
the second thing is,
so like, what, I would never today would I ever be like, oh, Adam Silver is the commissioner of the NBA. I'm going to tune in. But like back then, was this like Vince McMahon being the commissioner of the WWE? Like, was he like?
It kind of was. Yeah, because again, you know, the NBA. Remember, you know, the NBA didn't really have a terrific television deal. In fact, in 1978, the NBA was this close. Like, it was a breath away from not having a television contract with any of the big three networks. Larry O'Brien becoming NBA commissioner was the headline. Like, not the NBA. The NBA itself really wasn't making hay. But Larry O'Brien getting the commissioner role was a big. I mean, it was big news, because it was somebody from the national sphere entering into the sports world. I think a good example of that would be, let's say if the National Lacrosse League hired Al Gore as its commissioner. It's kind of like,
finally,
exactly, about damn time. It's that same sort of like, whoa, like now we're noticing this.
You put it like that, so I would probably watch some games.
Wouldn't you? I would.
Al Gore is running the lacrosse league? What
the fuck? Yeah, I'm in.
It's just an example. I hope it happens too, but it's just theoretical. Yeah. So Larry O'Brien becomes the commissioner, and the other thing that he does, which I think doesn't get talked about enough, is that he hires David Stern full time to work for the NBA.
Right. Well, David Stern, I want to ask you a question about that, because in your book, I haven't had time to read the whole thing, but I have been reading it, and it's very good.
Thank you.
The intro opens up with kind of a anecdote about Derek Fisher. Performing on Dancing with the Stars.
Right.
And you kind of trace that, like, that would not be possible 20, 30 years ago. And you trace the fact that it's possible today, all the way back to the 1983 All-Star game.
Yeah.
When Marvin Gaye performed the national anthem in kind of a sexy, smooth kind of way that at the time seemed like almost incendiary and countercultural. And you frame it almost as like it's an intentional choice by David Stern to align himself with these kind of outsider cultural things in order to kind of cultivate a unique culture, unique to NBA and Black culture, and to help take it mainstream. Now, only a short 15 to 20 years later, David Stern was kind of seen as a villain that was like squashing Black culture within the league. How did that happen?
That's a really good question. And that's something that, if I had another 100 pages, I would have explored that. And that might be...
I have the answer.
Okay.
Let too many Black people in. Got afraid. Next topic.
Well, I think if we're just, that's actually a really good answer. And I think a big part of it was, I think when you get older, and I've seen this myself, it's very easy to become dismissive or afraid of cultural movements that you don't understand. And I don't think David Stern understood Black culture. When Marvin Gaye's anthem happened,
David Stern didn't understand Black culture.
There you go. So I think he was. We get older, we are not only don't understand cultural trends as well, but we can be we're dismissive of them. And I think that was David Stern's problem or condition or whatever you want to call it. And the other thing too is I think at that point, I think David Stern thought that he was the man in charge and could just sort of swoop in and just say, well, no, we're not doing this. And that's not possible when not only is 85% of your league's players African American, but also a gigantic portion of your fan base embraces hip hop culture and loves it. And you can't dismiss you can't embrace the youth and want them to take in your product and watch your games and then push them off with the other arm. You can't do that. And I think David Stern learned that the hard way. It's just you can't be a cool hip league and then suddenly say, no, we're not doing this. We want everyone dressed in suits and doing things, the way that it was done back in my day. You can't do that. You have to be fluid. And I think as time went on, David Stern, like a lot of us, wasn't fluid, didn't want to change, didn't want to adapt, didn't want to change with the times. And I think that's maybe a convoluted answer to what Jamel just said, but that's kind of how I look at it.
No team can afford to overpay for talent. Build a championship team with Indeed, the smart way to only pay for quality candidates that meet your must-have requirements. When hiring gets hard, you need Indeed, the job site that makes hiring incredibly simple. Just attract, interview, and hire. In fact, with Indeed, you can do all of your hiring in just one place. Indeed knows how important it is to make the most of your recruiting hours and dollars. And with Indeed, you can save time and money by setting your must-have qualifications and only pay for the quality candidates that meet them. Get started right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Get a $75 credit at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Offer valid through September 30th. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey guys, looking for a betting advantage this football season? You need to download BetQL, the only app you'll need to compare betting odds and make smart bets. Their best bet computer model scans over 350,000 unique bets per year to give you a best bet recommendation for every game across all major sports and gives you the reasoning behind why you should place the bet. Their model covers everything from spreads, over-unders, and player prop bets. Don't want to use this model and prefer to do the research yourself? Well, BetQL has all the necessary tools for your betting research needs. Tools like line movement and sharp data on who the pros are backing, team summaries highlighting previous success against the spread and over-under, team lineup breaking news and injury status updates, and leaderboards to track how you stack up against others and to view your winning streaks. Better data, better bets. Head to the App Store or Google Play Store now to download BetQL. You can also head to try.betql.co/Blue Wire to get started now. Enter the discount code BlueWire at payment checkout for 25% off any of their subscription offerings. Make sure to check out their offers page to find a special offer to receive a full free year of BetQL. Don't miss out on the chance to gain your betting advantage during this football season.
Speaking of go on.
You know, I'm glad we all figured it out together.
We're learning. We're all learning. That's good.
We talked about like different timelines happening. There's a whole. I just wonder what the world would look like if David Stern hadn't basically sued Allen Iverson, preventing him from releasing his rap record. Like the world is like there's an entire Allen Iverson hip hop album that we have never heard.
Allen Iverson leaves the NBA sooner.
You think?
Probably.
Yeah. There's no Grizzlies. There's no weird Pistons run. I think he gets to Denver. Him and J.R. Smith are making songs immediately. He's working on his follow-up album, and he just goes nuts.
Well, he does. I mean, he does have that. I think, if memory serves, there's 30 million, I think, from Reebok waiting for him in some sort of delayed endorsement deal.
Right.
So it's very easy for, I mean, there was, if AI had a little bit more patience with his spending, he probably could have gone, probably could have entered the hip hop game a little sooner.
I think he had signed a lifetime deal with them.
Yes.
And then because of Reebok's financial woes, they ended up kind of negotiating that kind of, well, we'll just give you $30 million when you turn 60 or whatever.
Yeah. I think it's like one of those old school ABA contracts where it's, where it's sort of like, you get paid, it's like a 35-year deal or something. But yeah, that sounds about right. I think it's in Kent Babb's really good book, a really good Iverson biography. He writes about that Reebok deal.
So yeah, I mean, there's Not a Game. Is that the book?
Yeah, it's a great book. That's a great book. After you read my book, read Kent Babb's book. Yeah.
I want to get back to real fast. Hold on. What is the Kevin Bacon 6 degrees separation of Larry O'Brien to Jeffrey Epstein? Let's talk about that. How do we get to where do we get into Jeffrey Epstein and the growth of the NBA?
I mean, he must have been somewhere. Chris Tucker was there.
I mean,
some NBA guys was there.
Is it just Leon Black? Is it just Paul Allen? Is it just Josh Harris? I mean,
it's funny. The ownership. Yeah, it's funny. The book kind of looks at it's so funny. Like I'm not a fan of the concept of a simpler time in history. I think it's kind of bullshit to be like, oh, it was a simpler time. But like when you look at the NBA and the ownership and all the entities that are involved in it now compared to back in the 80s, it's bananas. Like, didn't Henry Abbott do a whole thing? I'm trying to remember what it was, but like in True Hoop, he wrote a whole thing about like the whole Epstein connection with the NBA, and it's just it's bananas.
It seems ominous. It seems ominous, but also
it's not good,
not ideal. I mean, I guess when things there has to be a point like when the NBA becomes like, is there a year or a turning point, or is it just literally like the rise of David Stern himself? Like, where is the point where it goes from kind of trying league to, yay, we've got Magic and Larry, to like, all right, we are full corporate, like,
that's a great question.
Funds,
that's a great question. And that's the thing with this book, is that the book kind of, I've used this term in other interviews and sort of, talking about the book, is this really was the last simple time for the NBA. Like, this was like the point of and David Stern does set that process of like going from, we're a plucky league where we're going to try and just get people interested in the game, to like it being a major league of giant business. And with a business, there's shades of gray, and there's not so great behavior and a shit ton of money. What's that crossing point? Well, I think there are a couple of signs. The first is, I think the first sign is the NBA's contract with the NBC, which is for $600 million in '89. That's when it officially becomes a business, in my opinion. That's when the NBA stops becoming like the scrappy kid on the block and becomes a major league player with money and things to lose, and the innocence is sort of off the enterprise. The other thing is the Dream Team. Because the Dream Team was just, that showed the worldwide power of this, of the NBA. And the other thing too is that, I mean, as you guys totally know, because you're smart dudes, like it wasn't like, oh, it just happened organically. Oh, everything. No, it was all corporate synergistic marketing, wheeling and dealing. So I think when those two things happen, it's the Pandora's box is open, and the NBA is not going to be this, scrappy little engine that could. It just, I think by 91, 91, 92, it's over. And it's just, and that's when the Epstein connections start and the billionaires come into play and all that good
So
stuff.
really you're saying the Bill Clinton era is when things got corporate for the NBA.
Yeah. I mean, look, nothing happens overnight. And I think if you look at anything, things take time. And with the NBA in my opinion, it was a 14-year journey to get from middling success to the doorstep of worldwide dominance, I suppose. And then after that, it just skyrockets because the money gets bigger, and when you have more money, you can't be innocent anymore. It's just especially when you're like David Stern, when you want the world to enjoy your product or to appreciate your product, you can't. It can't be after that. Like simplicity's out the window. That's out the window for sure.
Talk about David Stern and the NBA kind of aligning themselves with cultural icons or brands or things like that, financial institutions or whatever to help its growth, media conglomerates. Mm-hmm. Is there anything like surprising or people wouldn't know about? Like I think about how the NFL is paid millions of dollars by the U.S. military in order to have a military presence on the field and have jets fly over and blah, blah, blah. Like, is there anything like that for the NBA where like it would be like, oh, a lot of people don't know that this X brand or X company is paying the NBA millions of dollars?
I don't know. I'm trying to think in my research. I mean, I talked to over 300 people for this book. I didn't really come across any kind of smoking gun like that. But with David Stern, everything was an opportunity. Everything could be leveraged into money, into marketing. That's just how he thought. But I didn't see anything, and maybe it's lack of research or ran out of time or poor reporting. Pick your poison. But I didn't see anything that made me think, holy shit, like this is like a real
Sounds like
issue.
A cover up.
With David's,
yeah,
I didn't see anything like that. What I did see was somebody who was just relentless in leveraging and turning the NBA into a brand, and just anything that, and there was an opportunity to wherever there's an opportunity to make a dollar, David Stern was on it, and that's if you're a businessman, like that's sort of the logic that you need. And he saw himself as a businessman. I mean. With I'm trying to think of an example here. He, the best example of, David Stern wanted to be Disney. And he said that point blank. Like we're Disney. We want to be the Disney of sports, and and I think with that comes a sophistication and comes a calculation that is not associated with regular mom and pop businesses. But I didn't see anything in my research and my reporting that made me take notice of like, oh geez, like this is a really bad arrangement. I do think that later on that's, I'm sure we're seeing that now, but during that period, it wasn't that. I don't think there was that kind of finagling, but I could be wrong.
How close did he get to incorporating magical frogs?
What I'll be completely honest. As a reference,
the Disney. He wanted frogs to be refs and to have everybody dance.
But seriously, that's what he wanted. He wanted if you go to an NBA game now, which I haven't been to one in a while because where we are now. But like every part of it is an entertainment. Like it's a spectacle. And that's the thing. Like that's great if you're 9 years old, but if you're 44 like I am, that's not so great. But yeah, he probably would have done that. It's surprising. What's surprising to me is that remember a few years. This is years ago. I might be taxing you guys' memory, but do you remember when Major League Baseball got into real problems because they put the Spider-Man 2 ads on the bases, or Spider-Man 3? Do you remember this?
No. What?
No.
Yeah, they did this. Yeah, seriously, look this up. I think in 2007, Major League Baseball, like around the edge of the bases, put ads for Spider-Man 3, I think it was. And people went ballistic. They went ballistic about this. But if David Stern had done that, the NBA it would have been no problem. Like look at these awful like movie cross promotions they had during NBA finals. If the magical frog, if the frogs reffing isn't happening, like it will soon, because like you see, because that cross promotional thing is the next best thing.
Well, we watched the Avengers NBA like crossover this season, right? There was the game where they were like projecting holograms of Spider-Man onto the rim.
Right, it's happening already. Look, it's yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, at some point, you're probably going to see, like, I'm trying to think you're probably going to see like Cinderella like do the jump ball. Or I don't know, maybe you will, but it's all, there's no innocence to this anymore. It's a giant entertainment business, and I don't know, some people like it, some people don't like it. I just use a concentrate on the games, and to see Joel Embiid take a 3-pointer. So,
hey Jamal, speaking of magical frogs, do you think Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is Mr. Toad from Mr. Toad's Wild Ride?
Well, I mean, he's got the DUIs
exactly
to support it.
Exactly.
Wasn't he playing like while serving jail time? Was there something?
Yes.
He couldn't leave the state. He had a.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Ankle monitor, the whole deal.
Yeah, but he could not travel with the team.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
fantastic. No, it's I don't know. That's that's the thing about this game that I still love. Is just it's just the stories and the players and the personalities, and it's
the best.
That stuff. So it's fascinating to me. That's the part that I like. I like all that drama and all those storylines, and was it Kevin Porter Jr. punching out a dude in the locker room because he stole his locker or something? Like that stuff is just that backstory just makes the NBA great to me, because like you don't see that anywhere else. Not that I've seen. So
you don't hear about it either. I think the NBA, because it wants to market itself as the Disney, it is invested in kind of selling its players as characters, and you get to know them more. There's fewer players. You see their face all game. Like it's easier to get invested in the storylines than I think any other sport. I don't know what's happening in hockey.
No, I think also the players are really good with social media. Mm-hmm. I think that's part of it too. I think, it's Kevin Durant's Twitter feed is just all over the place. Yeah, it's great. And, and so there's that, and there's Instagram, which I'm not as big a fan of, but whatever. So I think also too is the NBA has a really good media policy. So like a lot of, so there's always, so the media is able to roam pretty freely. Like, look, I mean, I'm just a meatball with a computer and an internet connection. And I team PR people are really, really approachable. Like I've tried baseball and football. It's like trying to secure an interview with the president. It's just, it's nuts. But the NBA has always been really, really approachable and really open to media coverage. And I think there's good and bad with that.
Well, should we move on to some current basketball news, guys?
No.
Speaking of basketball as business, Steve Ballmer and the Los Angeles Clippers broke ground on the new arena in Inglewood, California this weekend, and invited Los Angeles' premier bar and bat mitzvah band to play. Have you guys seen the video? We've all seen the video.
I did.
Why?
Why? I think the Clippers as an organization just get the little details wrong across the board.
Like the little detail, like change your name. You're moving to Inglewood. change your name. What are
Inglewood
you holding
Clippers,
on
fuck
to?
it. South Bay Clippers.
That's a Donald Sterling move, hiring the premier bar mitzvah band. Like that's a straight up Donald Sterling move.
His legacy lives on.
Oh my God.
Well, I thought, it's funny. I thought, so was that, I honestly thought, I saw the clip. I thought that was Fitz and the Tantrums. And it looked like them, but it was a legit like bar mitzvah party band that was there.
Oh, maybe it was Fitz and the Tantrums, but yeah.
I think it was Fitz and the Tantrums.
I don't know who that is, but
bar
yeah.
mitzvahs, you know?
They've had a couple of really good albums in the beginning, like I guess 2009, 2010. They've had a few hits, but like I think that's Fitz and the Tantrums, and like they've done like stuff for like they've done soundtracks, and their first album, Pick Up the Pieces, is really good. I
think the name is familiar to me. I'm not but I think even
does Paul George and Kawhi know that?
Yeah, exactly. It stands. It still stands. Like Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Clearly, you see in the video that they do not enjoy what's happening.
To be there.
Yeah, but it's like you're moving to Inglewood. Like you claim to like be the team from 213. Like you're moving to South LA. Get a fucking rapper. Like what are you doing?
That's what I don't get. That's what I didn't get is that like the NBA is such a like hip rap league. Like just. Yeah, I mean, you can't find somebody, especially in LA, to do that. I don't know.
Well, everybody was on the way to the Rams game.
That's a good point. But I think it goes like, Pete. I don't know if you've been out to LA or if you've attended Lakers or Clippers games, but if you do, and Peter and Jamel, you guys agree with me. Like, it's just so much better at the Lakers games, right? Even though it's the same stadium.
Not even close.
It's just the presentation is so much better. The in arena stuff is like so much more.
Well, I like how fucked up Clippers stuff is. I told you I seen somebody leave
but you're
the
a
stadium.
sick motherfucker.
Yeah, somebody left the stadium with a gun and a backpack. I like that.
I've been to one Lakers game. I think in 2015. I haven't gone to a Clippers game, so. I can't comment on the dynamics, but to me, like if you're for the Clippers, if your most popular fan is like Billy Crystal, like that kind of that says everything you need to know.
Do you remember like mid 2000s when someone invented the pop-up ad on the internet, and just like it felt like every website you went to just had 1,000 pop-up ads with GIFs flashing bright colors at you, and like it just was like sensory overload. That's kind of a Clippers game. Like every time the whistle blows, they bring out 120 people onto the court to dance and shoot T-shirts into the crowd and dunk basketballs and play loud. They play LMFAO 40 times a game.
Oh, God.
And it's just so loud and annoying. And it kind of, in a way, like takes away from the actual, because you're just like, it's every stoppage of play.
Late stage. It's really like David Stern's version of late stage capitalism, to be honest. It's like, this is as far as we can possibly go with NBA entertainment not being about the game.
Yeah.
They should have, Ballmer should have brought LMFAO to the groundbreaking.
Yeah, would have been a better option, I think. At least a little more, like, at least the players will recognize the music because they hear it in their own arena 100 times a game.
Watching that, the best part of that clip is Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, because they look like they just would rather be anywhere else. They look like they're waiting for a bus. It's just so disheartening. Yeah, I feel so bad for those guys.
Yeah, like it truly, they truly did not want to be there.
Yeah, that's okay.
Ballmer also promised that $80 million in conjunction with the construction of this arena will go to building affordable housing for displaced people in the area that he's single-handedly, I guess double-handedly, along with the LA Rams, gentrifying. Do you think they'll ever see that $80 million? And how affordable will the housing actually be, if so?
Yeah, they're going to build a 3-level Starbucks and say everybody can live around this. Yeah, you could just come in here. You can pee here, which is technically a living space.
And work there, Yeah,
you could work there. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Run the Starbucks. It's yours.
How I was going to ask you, what is the? I'm curious. Like, what is? I mean, I'm thousands of miles away from here, but what is the local reaction, I guess, to this arena and I guess the Rams' new behemoth? Like, what's been the tone there?
I mean, Benner, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Oh no, Mike, I can't hear you.
No, Benner. He's probably gonna say something mad socialist. Eat the rich, fire all the white people. Make everybody should get Brazilian butt lifts. What else did Benner say right there, Peter?
Probably something about Ben Simmons.
Get Ben Simmons.
Yeah, gentrification is just like watching Ben Simmons, and something about how he wants this pod to be bad but also grow. And let's see.
And TJ McConnell's not good at basketball. He might have snuck that in.
Yeah, even though he gets like 9 assists in a game,
he still would.
I mean, the vibe is like the Clippers should have changed their name. And like I say that not to be redundant, but like they're always going to be the little brother.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think the closest people got to an existential crisis was when they made it to the Western Conference Finals. And there was like, okay, this could happen.
Yeah.
This could be a thing, because that would really disrupt, speaking of like the timeline, the secret timeline, like Clippers going to the finals, just like, I'm more afraid about how Lakers fans react to the Clippers than necessarily like the Lakers reacting to the Lakers or anything else. It's like they have to stay down. Otherwise, like none of this makes sense anymore.
Yeah. I don't understand why. I mean, again, this is Donald Sterling's decision, but like, I don't know if you can have two Los Angeles basketball teams. I mean, the Lakers are just this dynasty, and I don't know. You're always going to be the second the redheaded stepchild if in as the Clippers. And I agree with you. Like, change the name, get a fresh start, because also that name is associated with one of the most racist, cheapest owners in American sports. So like, wouldn't you want that clean break? Yeah,
just straight up failure.
Yeah, exactly.
It might as well, like, it would be worse if they were called the Los Angeles Losers. I'd be like, at least there's alliteration.
Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah, that's catchy.
Yeah, I like it.
And hipsters could wear like the t-shirts ironically. Like, that's kind of cool. I mean, that could work.
And it's just like reverse Laker font. That'd be great.
Exactly. Yeah. Everyone wins.
In case we've lost Benner to just the doldrums of socialist Los Angeles politics, Jamel, why don't you just apprise us and let us know? Let's just like lay the land for the WNBA playoffs in the final week here. Like, what's the landscape looking like? What's the most exciting thing? Obviously, other than the Sparks and the Mystic, and
the Liberty.
And the Liberty, but like not really the Liberty, right?
No, everybody's tied. It's all comes down to today, and they're all playing teams that have playoff spots locked. It's pretty fucked up.
So it's just about who basically cares the least of who they're playing.
Yeah, and Minnesota cares the most because we got rid of Ariel Powers, who she says fraudulently got rid of her. You know how players feel getting let go by teams. And she's taking it very personally.
Constantly.
I know. It
like
happens.
Great players getting cut all the time.
Halfway through the year, every year. So I don't understand, but whatever. So, they're out for blood, and that's fine. Where it's coming down to the wire. Let me ask you this, Pete.
Yeah.
Put your David Stern hat on. How does the WNBA get to the next level of stuff? Like, they figured out the merch, which is a thing that I don't think the NBA had to figure out a merch issue. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People were just so happy to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't really matter, especially at that time, like 80s and 90s. We weren't thinking about hoodies.
Yeah.
But they got this in their hat, is that they got the good merch now. And
they do.
People see the product a little more. But what's next? How do you take it? How do you get us to China?
That's you're probably more equipped to answer that question than I. But I will say that I think this is going to sound very superficial, but I think the WNBA needs to make a big splashy hire at the commissioner level. Like for years they had Donna Orender and they had Val Ackerman. They kind of, from my understanding, the commissioner was hired sort of within the NBA family. I think it'd be remarkable if they hired somebody who would make headlines, who would get people like get the casual fans more into the WNBA. And the other thing that I think too is, I don't think this may sound, I've thought about this a lot because people have asked me about the WNBA, which I enjoy watching. I kind of think that the WNBA would work better or would have more viewers, I should say. I'm curious to hear what you guys think about this. If it worked along, if its schedule was along, if it was scheduled along NBA games. So, for example, there'd be like the WNBA season would go along with the NBA season, and there'd be off days where you just have WNBA.
You're
games
saying like the Globetrotters used to do with the NBA,
and I think,
where you're like double.
No, I wouldn't do the double header because I think that belittles the product. And WNBA is a great product. Just give them days give the WNBA days during the week where it's just WNBA games and games that are NBA games. So that way the coverage is throughout the year. Plus, it's better for cross promotion because if you're watching an NBA game on TNT or ESPN, it's easier to promote. You can promote those WNBA games. So I don't know, you can promote the Pacers and Warriors, but then then tomorrow we have the Sparks and the Sun. I think it's easier it's better from a promotional standpoint, and I think from an audience standpoint. But again, there's a reason why I write basketball. I don't plot basketball scheduling because I'm not sure if that's a good idea, but it's just something that I think would maybe generate a little bit more interest.
Benner says hire Ricky Lake as the WNBA commissioner. He can't see us, but he did write that down, and I love that idea. Sounds very good.
Not Ricky Lake.
I mean, come on, dude. Richard Lake rocks.
How about Sally Jesse Raphael? I mean, she has the glasses. She looks professorial. Yeah, I think I don't know. There's to me like there needs. I would want to get somebody who was known outside of basketball circles to be the commissioner. But that's just me. But I don't know. What do you think? I mean, it's been 25 years.
Who is the Larry O'Brien of right now? Is it like, oh man?
Yeah, that's
Al
the
Gore.
thing.
Al Gore.
Let's get Al Gore.
Let's get Al Gore to be.
Let's do Al Gore to do lacrosse and the WNBA, and we'll get him to be the baseball commissioner because I hate Rob Manfred. So let's get
first.
Let's get him. Let's have a multitask.
Silver Fox. Love it.
I think you're right. You're right. I think they tried to do okay, ladies, you can have the summer when everybody's not thinking about basketball. Yeah. So probably running it at the same time would help. I mean, that's how it is at every other level of sport, college, high school.
Yeah.
They run on concurring days. I agree.
Yeah, I just think I think the summer is just too crowded because look, you have baseball season, so that's still a popular sport, obviously. You also have NFL preseason and also the hot stove. Like that takes up a lot of attention. So I think basketball sort of just works well in that time frame. And yeah, I don't know. But that's the thing. I think, but you have to remember this. You have to remember this. The NBA just turned 70, is going to turn 75 allegedly because whatever. This is a long game. The NBA really, by the time when the NBA turned 35, it was still a struggling league. The WNBA just turned 25, I think. So it's still young. There's still it's still trying to gain a foothold. So it's doing well, but I think it can be better. And I think it can do better in terms of outreach and marketing and all that good stuff.
Well, we'll see how the playoffs go this year. And I guess by the time we've heard this, you'll already know who's got the 8th seed. All right, Pete, again, for people, where can people read where can people find your book? What's the most advantageous way for you for people to find your book?
Well, thank you for asking. There look, the book can be found at pretty much any major online and brick and mortar retailer. So Amazon.com, Bookshop. I prefer if you buy local. So Bookshop is a great source. Amazon, if you're looking for something, if you're strapped for cash, you can buy that. Also,
you want to send Bezos to space again?
I do. I mean, I really do think he can become the next John Glenn. I have confidence.
Hey, you know, maybe it's second time's the charm. So
you know what?
Try again, buddy.
I really, you know what it is? I really feel like our billionaires don't get enough support. And so really, you know, they're struggling so hard in this economy to just, you know, do their part. No, if you can buy local or indie, that'd be great. Speaking of which, if you go to odysseybookstore.com, you can actually order an autographed copy of my book. I'm working in conjunction with Odyssey Bookstore in Ithaca, New York. It's a great indie bookstore. So if you call the store or go to odysseybookstore.com, ODYSSEY bookstore.com, you can buy an autographed copy. They'll mail it to you anywhere for an extra $5. If you buy the book and you like it, I hope you do, you can also reach out to me on social media for a signed book plate. I'm happy to mail them out anywhere. Send them to Wales, Ireland, sent one to South Carolina, another exotic sort of locale.
The most dangerous of all the locations.
Yes, Gamecock country. So you know, it's so you can pretty much buy it anywhere. And again, I'm thrilled to send a signed book plate. And I'm easy to find on Twitter, Instagram, wherever. So
awesome. Well, Pete, thanks for joining us at Airbuds Pod for everything. Jamel, you want to plug anything?
Get the damn book. Here, Corrado, guys, and get our podcast here at airbuds.net.
Airbuds.biz. All right, peace out.
Sign up for WynnBET Sportsbook at WYNNBet.com today using promo code BlueWire to get up to $1,000 toward a risk-free sports bet. Offer subject to change. Terms and conditions at WynnBET.com. Must be 21 or older and present in the state where playthrough WynnBET is available. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700.